Hey, what's going on here? It's another Boulevard Paper Fight video. Today I'm cracking a new deck, and I'm going to utilize an idea that was actually mentioned by AJ when we were talking. He commented about something, and by AJ I mean Vaultboy for those who don't know. He made this idea that look at a deck instead of from what's strongest about it, but actually what's weakest in the deck, because if you know what it does worst, that kind of gives you an interesting idea. So here we have Linetti, Perutz, Perez, Margrave, Logos, Sanctum, Untamed. Ooh, that's a cool Archon. That's a really neat Archon. So we got Logos, Sanctum, Logos, Sanctum, and Untamed. I do like those houses. I don't know if I like them together though. But let's see what this deck has to say about that. So we got Logos, Untamed, and Sanctum. So let us see what is in here. What is the weakness? Like, what is not good about this deck that you need to be aware it could happen? That's why I like that idea. First up, we have an Effervescent Principle. Two Effervescent Principle, this one with a capture. That one's kind of weird, actually. I don't know if I like that. Infomurph. Ooh, we got Lethalogica with a draw pip and a capture pip. Another Lethalogica. Opposition Research. Quixo. Quixo with an icon for pip. Deathquark. Dimension Door. Novu. Mind Over Matter. Ardent Hero. Cleansing Wave with an Ember. Fangs of Jezelheart. We have a Salvador with a capture and a draw. We have Squire Alice, two Squire Alice, the Grey Rider, Baldric the Bold. Bring Low, ooh, very nice. Free Markets, the Spirit's Way, ooh, and an Orb of Wonder. This is my first one of these, so that's pretty cool. I like that. And then we go on to Untamed with a Flumph. Gloriana's Attendant. Another one. Both with pips. Three of them. Oh, I don't like that. Niffle Ape. Rapid Evolution with a bonus Ember. Commune. Gross Surge. Niffle Grounds. Vault's Blessing. Dark Queen Gloriana. And a Dino Beast, so I can already tell this deck is going to have a ton of printed Ember just from that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16 printed Ember. Wow, that's a good amount. But how many creatures does it have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, alright, 17 creatures. Ember control cards. We got one, 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of. It's going to count 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 cards. That's not bad. Dealing with damage. So we got 1, or board control, sorry. 1 there. We got 2, 3, 4, 5. Still counts as board. 6. 6, okay, not great, not bad. But now, let's look at this deck. How many mutants we got? This deck requires mutant count. 1, 2, that's where these may come into play. 3, 4, 5. 6, only 6 mutants, so that's not a great number to pull off the Vault's Blessing. So that'll be have to be mindful of. That's pretty cool. Growth Spurge could be handy for maybe making the attendance worthwhile, or even boosting something else. Like, for example, a Baldric the Bold, or even a Ardent Hero, make it more beefy. I like the double Quixos, there's nothing wrong with that. The Lethalogica to cycle potentially. So let's find out what I think this deck is lacking. So, I kind of want to see things in a different way. So I'm going to just quickly move these aside. So I want to actually separate it by card type rather than by the normal standard way, which is just houses. I want to look at this differently for this method. Okay. So when it comes to the creatures, what am I noticing here? Like the power is not that high. So it has low creature power. The only good thing has ways to make a couple things bigger. Like 4 is kind of the high point, minus the 1/8. And I do think there are cards that you can discard from your hand to archive. So yeah, you can set that up. That's pretty neat. Especially like I just realized something. Okay, no, wait. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with this deck. What's the weak points of this deck? So it's definitely creature power. Now it's got the Spirit's Way, but that's still going to take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards just from that. So that's got to be taken into consideration. Now the artifacts we do have is Orb of Wonder and Niflground. So this can let you get anything, obviously. So depending on where you are and what you want to do, that's really handy. Now looking here, we got ways. I keep trying. See, it's really hard for me to analyze from a negative standpoint. So that's a dead card, I think, a lot. I think establishing the board is going to be the weak point. Keeping that board going, because if you go against certain matchups, you're going to be the weak person out there. So I think that you're going to have to be very cautious, and I mean, Bouncing Deathcork has targets. This is really hard to analyze this from its weakest points. Yeah, I think the way the creatures go on the board is going to be where the main issue comes with this deck. And luckily it has a good amount of Ember printed on itself, so you can just cycle and make things happen. And you have the Orb of Wonder to further get a key piece. So things that I do like about this deck, though, is I do like the Mind Over Matter with the Novu. Reason being is I think it's kind of interesting to potentially take a bunch of cards. Like, I mean, out of the creatures here, you only have 4. So Logos is not going as a creature based. This is actually a good way of looking at this. Now I see here. So going Logos means you're only playing action, so that's a weakness. One interesting thing you can do, though, is if you like maybe play these and you know you're not going to be calling Logos super often, is you can have the Dynamo archive a bunch of cards, like especially your logo stuff, and then you can essentially, like through that, you can use Novu once he's on the board afterwards, so you can just discard Logos card from your hand or archive, start discarding them from your archives, gaining Ember, and not calling Logos. So I think that's really interesting. It's a way you can take the weakness of there being less creatures in Logos and you're playing more actions and utilize it that way. Now, in Sanctum, we have a good amount of creatures, but as you can see, there are 4s and 2s. So the 2s are good because there is the Spirit's Way and things of that nature, but 4 is the high point, the Novu Dynamo, but we're not calling Logos that often, we realized, based on probably the board. You're not going to have a high percentage of having a huge board there, so that's the weakness. Here, creature power, again. And that sentiment is echoed into the Untamed Suite, which has 7 creatures, but unfortunately these are all vanilla. very vanilla. Like, there's nothing here that gets me really excited. I think she's interesting. Return something to your hand. Creature-wise, for me, I think Salvador is a really easy option. Yeah, Salvador is the one that I'm going to be thinking to return to my hand as my main target. So there's not a lot of great targets either that have amazing play abilities. In fact, I think Squire Alice is the only one. Or you could always reposition the Grey Rider. So, yep, that's Gloriana does not have a lot of great targets. There's always creatures with Ember, though, is the thing. So when you're in Untamed, you basically have the weakness of creatures that aren't amazing all around, just aren't amazing. And when you go to the actions, there's only 4 actions. So there's not a lot of actions you're playing. So that's something to keep in mind. When you're going to Sanctum, though, you do have 5 actions, and they all kind of do like board control, Ember control, and burst. So I think Sanctum is going to create the best results for this deck. So the weakness for this deck is that I think a lot of the board state with Untamed, once you have it, is going to be kind of weak. So your ability to just reap and do stuff is going to be maybe compromised by the ability that, or sorry, not the ability, the power that you have in Untamed. And you can't just play its like actions because they're not that great. So if you establish this Untamed board you want to use, it's not really worthwhile using. That's definitely coming from the Sanctum side. So that's the one thing. Knowing the weakness of the creatures in Untamed, even though there's a lot, they're not very helpful. So I would almost even want to play Mind Over Matter with a bunch of Untamed stuff out. One, because there's a lot of Ember Pips on creatures. Here we got 1, 2, 3. So that's not too bad. And then leaving, you want to be Sanctum on the board. That's what it is. So Sanctum's the main house in this. Boom. This was an interesting way. Working backwards. AJ, you might be onto something here. So this is the first, it's kind of like a deep dive, but it's trying to find the weak points. So we're going to call this the Sinking Ship Deep Dive. I hope you like this. Please give me your feedback. You guys have been great about that, and I really do appreciate it. It really helps me make these videos. And the next ones coming up are going to be really special. I finally figured out my my kinks with production, so to speak. And now it's going to be time to just take it up from there. So I hope you do like those when they come. But until then, this has been the Sinking Ship Deep Dive of Linetti Perutz Perez Margrave. As always, may Ember never be stolen, and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.